The outdoors can feel like freedom, wide open spaces, fresh air, and the thrill of pushing limits. But nature also hides dangers that can turn adventure into horror in an instant. In this video, we'll uncover 5 of the most disturbing deaths in outdoor exploration. These are not accidents you hear every day, but chilling real stories of hikers, climbers, and explorers whose journeys ended in ways both tragic and unsettling. It was August 12, 2025, on Pobeda Peak, the highest mountain in Kyrgyzstan. Natalia Nagovitsina, a 47-year-old Russian climber, had just started her descent from the 400-foot summit when disaster struck. She slipped and suffered a serious leg injury at 23,000 feet. Trapped in what climbers called the death zone, she faced freezing winds and thin air, where survival is almost impossible. Still, she refused to give up. Natalia dragged herself beneath a rock formation known as the Bird, set up her tent, and tried to wait for help. Pobeda Peak, also called Jengish Chokusu, is one of the harshest mountains on Earth. No climber has ever been rescued from the height where Natalia was stranded. Word of her accident spread, and volunteers quickly stepped forward. Among them was 49-year-old Italian climber Luca Sinigalia. Luca was not only an experienced mountaineer, but also a cybersecurity expert from Milan. He shared a bond with Natalia. Back in 2021, he had helped her and her husband Sergei during an expedition on Khan Tengri. Sergei collapsed from a medical issue at 22,600 feet and never recovered. Natalia refused to leave his side, and Luca witnessed her loss. The two stayed in contact, connected by their shared love of climbing. So when Luca learned Natalia was in trouble, he immediately joined the rescue mission. On his first attempt, Luca and German climber Gunther Siegmund managed to reach her. They brought food, water, a sleeping bag, and a small gas stove, but they couldn't carry her down. A violent blizzard forced them into shelter. Gunther eventually escaped, but Luca stayed behind, determined to try again. Days later, Luca climbed back up alone. He made it within a few hundred meters of Natalia's location before collapsing in the storm. He was later discovered in an ice cave at 23,000 feet. Doctors confirmed he had not survived, with hypothermia and altitude sickness as contributing factors. Luca's sister Patrizia later said that he carried out an act of great courage. According to her, he would never have left anyone behind, especially not Natalia. Despite Luca's sacrifice, attempts to save Natalia continued, but the mountain fought back. Her tent was torn apart by the wind. A military helicopter crashed during the mission. Other teams turned back after illness and injuries. On August 19th, a drone spotted her still alive, weakly moving and even waving from beneath the remains of her tent. Rescuers prepared one final attempt, led by 3 Italian climbers, Manuel Munari, Mario Sottile, and Michele Cucci. They waited for better weather and a private helicopter that could reach the death zone. But the sky never cleared. On August 21st, another drone passed over. This time, Natalia did not move. Her tent was shredded, and the area was silent. On August 22nd, the mission was called off. Authorities stated recovery of her body would not be possible until spring. The Kyrgyz Ministry of Emergency Situations explained that no one had ever been rescued from that altitude, and only a special helicopter could attempt it. Natalia, just days from her 48th birthday, had endured nearly 2 weeks on a frozen ridge with a broken leg. She had already faced tragedy in 2021 when Sergei collapsed on Khan Tengri, a body that was never brought down. Now she too remained on the mountain. Pobeda Peak, victory in Russian, has taken the lives of many who tried to conquer it. Natalia's body still rests beneath the Bird, the same place where she last waved at a rescue drone. The final rescue team has returned home. No new missions are planned until spring. And alongside Natalia, the mountain also claimed Luca, who gave his life trying to bring her back. Together, They now remain in the death zone of Pobeda Peak. It was December 23, 2023, near Anchorage, Alaska. Amanda Richmond Rogers, a 45-year-old emergency room nurse and mother of 4, was out hiking with her husband Brian Rogers and their 2 dogs. The day was special. It was their 18th wedding anniversary. After spending the last 2 days with Amanda's mother and sister, the couple chose to spend this one together. They went to the North Fork Eagle River Trail, one of Amanda's favorite places. The trail was quiet. Snow covered the ground and a frozen river ran alongside them. Their dogs, including an Irish wolfhound named Groot, played nearby. Everything seemed perfect. Then it changed in an instant. Groot walked near the edge of the river to drink when the ice gave way. He disappeared through a hole in the frozen surface. Brian saw what looked like his paw under the water. Without thinking, he jumped in, diving beneath the ice to try and reach him. The water was dark, freezing, and disorienting. Brian held his breath as long as possible, searching by touch, but Groot was gone. Out of the air, he pulled himself out. As Brian tried to catch his breath, he saw Amanda walking calmly toward the same hole. He yelled for her to stop, but she didn't hesitate. Trained in emergency medicine, Amanda had faced emergencies many times. But this wasn't work. This was her family. She stepped into the icy water and swam under the surface. Then she vanished. Brian rushed to the opening, desperate to see her, but Amanda never resurfaced. Within hours, search and rescue teams arrived. Alaska State Troopers, dive teams, sonar equipment, drones, and rescue dogs were all brought in. But conditions were brutal. The extreme cold caused equipment to fail. Some teams even had to stop temporarily when their tools froze. Still, they kept searching. The timing made the loss even harder. It was just 2 days before Christmas, and Amanda's family was already grieving. Her father had passed away earlier that year. Now they faced another tragedy. Brian later wrote a statement saying Amanda hadn't gone in after just a dog. Groot was family. To him and their 4 sons, Amanda gave her life as a hero. Amanda had built a career around helping others. She had worked as an emergency room nurse, a pediatric hospice nurse, and even a death scene investigator. But according to Brian, the role she excelled at most was being a mother. Her 4 sons, Leif, Liam, August, and Bodie, were her world. The youngest, Bodie, was 10 years old. Amanda loved animals just as deeply. She had over 35,000 photos on her phone, most of them of their dogs, and even a room in her house dedicated to past pets. The official search ended on December 29th, but family and neighbors continued looking. For 3 months, Amanda was missing. Then, on March 24th, her body was found near the trail. What stunned everyone was that she was still holding Groot in her arms. Her sister confirmed it, saying Amanda had done exactly what she intended. She found him and she never let go. Her sons remembered her in their own ways. Leif urged others to live without regrets. Liam shared that she was so special that God could not wait to see her. August reminded everyone to focus on the time they had rather than on what was lost. And Bodie expressed simply that she would have chosen her husband, her sons, and her dogs over anything else in the world. Amanda's colleagues held a nightingale ceremony in her honor. To them, she wasn't just a skilled nurse, but someone who truly cared. Amanda Richmond Rogers was a wife, a mother, and a nurse who spent her life giving to others. On that frozen river, her final act was no different. She went in for someone she loved, and she never let go. It was July 26, 2025 in Arkansas. Clinton Brink, 43 years old, and his wife Kristen, 41 years old, were out hiking with their 2 daughters at Devil's Den State Park. The family had only moved to Arkansas 3 weeks earlier, leaving Rapid City, South Dakota, to start a new life in Prairie Grove, a small town about 30 minutes from the park. That morning, their neighbor, Cheyenne Marie, saw them smiling and waving as they left for what seemed like a peaceful family day. Clinton and Kristen both worked in the medical field. Clinton had been a nurse aide while Kristen was a nurse. In South Dakota, they were known as compassionate, caring, and deeply devoted to their faith and family. Friends said the move to Arkansas was to be closer to relatives and give their daughters a better place to grow up. At Devil's Den, the family picked a remote trail. The park is scenic but rugged, with dense woods and little cell phone service. As they walked deeper into the forest, they were unaware of what was about to happen. On the trail, they crossed paths with 28-year-old Andrew James McGann. He had recently moved from Oklahoma and had just been hired as a teacher in Springdale, though he hadn't started yet. He had passed background checks and worked at several schools before, but some parents had raised concerns about him, while others said he was quiet but liked by students. Without warning, McGann attacked. Clinton was the first targeted. He suffered multiple wounds, leaving a blood trail along the path. Kristen quickly moved her daughters, ages 7 and 9, out of harm's way, but after securing them, she returned to help her husband. In that moment, McGann attacked her as well. Clinton and Kristen did not survive the attack. A passing hiker later found the two girls alone. They told him their parents had been attacked. When he went to search, he discovered the couple's bodies and called the authorities at around 2:40 p.m. Police arrived to find evidence of a violent struggle, including a blood trail suggesting the parents tried to escape or fight back. Witnesses reported seeing a man with blood on his face leaving the area in a black four-door sedan with tape over the license plate. A suspect sketch and vehicle description were quickly released. 4 days later, on July 30th, police arrested McGann at a Springdale business while he was getting a haircut. The barber recalled him as quiet but unsettling. When officers asked about the car outside, McGann hesitated before admitting it was his. He had cuts on his hands, and DNA at the scene matched him. Blood was also found in his car. During questioning, he made statements linking himself to the attack. He was charged with 2 counts of capital offense and held without bond. Investigators later searched his home and found further evidence. Authorities say the violence appeared sudden and unprovoked, with no known connection between McGann and the Brinks. Neighbors in Prairie Grove were devastated. Cheyenne Marie, who had spoken with the family hours before, broke down in tears, remembering how her children had just started playing with the Brink girls. In South Dakota, friends and former co-workers mourned, saying the couple lived for their daughters and faith. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders condemned the attack and praised the police for the arrest. State Police Colonel Mike Hagar called McGann a monster and said he was thankful the girls were safe. Park officials also announced increased security at state parks. The Brink daughters are now in the care of relatives. Investigators have not said what exactly the girls witnessed, but it is clear they were deeply impacted. Clinton and Kristen's last moments showed courage and sacrifice, putting their children's safety first. Because of them, 2 young lives were spared. The trails at Devil's Den remain closed as the investigation continues. It was July 29, 2025, in the Karakoram Mountains of northern Pakistan. Laura Dahlmeier, a 31-year-old former Olympic biathlon champion from Germany, was attempting to climb Layla Peak, a 6,096-meter mountain known for its sharp ridges and unstable slopes. With her was fellow mountaineer Marina Eva Kraus, who shared her experience and passion for difficult climbs. Laura had ended her professional biathlon career in 2019 at only 25 years old. She later became a certified mountain and ski guide, joined the Garmisch-Partenkirchen Mountain Rescue Team, and worked as a commentator for the Biathlon World Cup. Mountains became the center of her life. Just weeks earlier, Laura had climbed Great Trango Tower, one of the world's hardest peaks at more than 6,200 meters. That climb had gone as planned, but Layla Peak would be different. On July 29th, Laura and Marina set out before dawn, hoping to reach the summit before conditions worsened. As daylight grew, the mountain showed signs of instability. Warmer temperatures raised the risk of rockfall and avalanches. The women decided to turn back before the top. While rappelling from about 5,700 meters, disaster struck. Marina, climbing below, saw a large rock break loose and hit Laura directly, throwing her against the mountain. She stopped moving immediately. Marina called out, but there was no response. Laura showed no signs of life. Unable to safely reach her, Marina sent an emergency signal. Rescuers began mobilizing, but because of the mountain's remote location, helicopters couldn't approach until the next morning. When they did, they confirmed that Laura had not survived. Recovery, however, was impossible. Heavy rains and unstable slopes made the area too dangerous. Ongoing rockfall and deadly landslides across the region prevented rescuers from safely reaching her body. Even elite climbers from Germany and the United States, including Thomas Huber, attempted to reach the site but were forced back by extreme conditions. Her family and Marina confirmed that Laura's wishes were being respected. If something happened in the mountains, no one should risk their life to bring her down. She would remain where she fell. The news spread quickly. Sports groups and government leaders honored her achievements. The German Olympic Sports Confederation referred to her as more than an Olympic champion, praising her character and vision. International Olympic Committee President Kirsty Coventry described the accident as deeply shocking and remembered Laura's record-breaking performance at the 2018 Winter Olympics, where she became the first woman to win both the sprint and pursuit events and also earned a bronze medal. Laura's career had been remarkable. 7 gold, 3 silver, and 5 bronze medals at the Biathlon World Championships, 20 World Cup victories, and the overall World Cup title in the 2016 to 2017 season. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier also honored her, recalling how he awarded her the Silver Laurel Leaf, the nation's highest sports award, and described her as a symbol of unity and fairness. The accident also pointed to how dangerous the Karakoram region has become. Local climbers noted that climate change had left slopes unstable, with less snow cover, rising rain levels, and warmer nights. This created unpredictable rockfalls and made the mountain riskier than in past years. Mountaineer Stefan Kohler, who had recently passed through the area, photographed exposed rock and constant debris, proof of how unstable conditions had become. Laura herself had known loss in the mountains. In 2022, her former partner, Robert Grasseger, died during a climb in Patagonia. She once admitted that such accidents made her question how to continue, but still she climbed, saying that reaching the top gave her a happiness she could not find elsewhere. On Layla Peak, she was just half an hour from safer ground when the accident happened. Marina later said that if they had been half an hour earlier, they would certainly have made it down. Laura Dahlmeier was only 31 years old. It was August 23, 2025, in Adelaide, Australia. A 34-year-old man named Stephen Paul Queen set out for a hike at Morialta Conservation Park, a place he often visited. Stephen was more than just a hiker. He deeply cared about nature. Protecting the environment wasn't a hobby for him. It was part of his life. On that Saturday, he wasn't alone. A woman he had recently met in class joined him. It was their first time going out together. They walked along the Deep View Lookout Trail, an area known for its wide views of cliffs and ravines. While beautiful, the lookout is also dangerous. Fences are placed along parts of the path to keep visitors away from the edge. Around 12:30 p.m., Stephen noticed a plastic water bottle lying past the fence. Many would have ignored it, but not Stephen. His sister, Catherine Queen, later said this was exactly who he was, someone who would never walk past litter. Determined to pick it up, he stepped over the barrier. What happened next was sudden. Stephen lost his footing and fell into the ravine below. The drop was steep and there was no chance to stop the fall. The woman with him immediately ran to get help. Emergency services arrived quickly, with fire trucks, police, and paramedics filling the park. But Stephen could not be saved. Authorities said he likely passed instantly. The park was closed for hours while crews worked to recover his body, a difficult task in such rugged terrain. Later that day, police confirmed a man had died at the park. They stated there were no suspicious circumstances and a report would be prepared for the coroner. The following day, Catherine shared the devastating news online. She said her brother had died doing something he loved, hiking and protecting nature. Catherine described Stephen as more than an environmentalist. He was also a devoted father to his 8-year-old daughter. According to her, everything he did was for his child. She recalled how their father broke the news to her, saying that the family was incredibly devastated. In an interview with 9 News, she explained that no one could believe it. He had been so young, so full of energy, passionate about the climate and society, and the type of person who would be trying to pick up litter. Stephen had been finishing a science degree, preparing for a career in environmental science. His goal was to use his knowledge to protect the planet. Catherine said she now hopes his passion leaves a lasting mark because that's what he would have wanted. Tributes soon poured in online. Friends called him Queenie, describing him as kind, generous, and always present for the people he cared about. One said he had so much time for everyone and so much kindness. Another called him a unique, one-of-a-kind guy who will be missed, adding that the world feels a little less bright without him. Witnesses at the scene recalled the heavy emergency response. One hiker, William White, remembered seeing the park shut down for hours while crews worked in the ravine. Tragically, Deep View Lookout has seen similar incidents before. 3 years earlier, 48-year-old Robert Bell also lost his life after falling from a remote clifftop trail in the same park. That case led to public calls for stronger safety measures, though it is unclear if changes were made. Stephen's story is painful because he wasn't being careless. He wasn't off exploring dangerous paths or taking risks. He saw a piece of trash and wanted to remove it. That small act summed up who he was, someone who cared about the planet and lived by those values. Stephen died doing what he believed in, but his family is left devastated, especially his young daughter, who will now grow up without her father. Police continue to investigate, with a coroner's report pending. For his sister Catherine, the hope is clear, that people remember Stephen not only for how he died, but for how he lived, caring, selfless, and dedicated to protecting the world around him.